The Burma Front, Behind the Scene, by Donn Margon Kipgen. The ongoing war in Myanmar, formerly Burma, has raised numerous questions, especially in neighboring regions like Manipur. Within these discussions, accusations have emerged, particularly from Meitei and NSCN IM militants, alleging that the government of India, GUI, is supporting the Kuki National Army Burma, KNAB. These allegations are serious and warrant a closer examination to understand whether they hold any truth or if they are simply a misinterpretation of India's broader geopolitical and economic strategy. This analysis suggests that such accusations arise from misunderstandings tied to India's economic interests in Southeast Asia, particularly its Look East policy and the complex interplay of regional security dynamics. The Look East policy and India's strategic interests in Burma. At the heart of the dispute lies India's Look East policy, which was first initiated in the early 1990s as part of India's broader strategy to engage with Southeast Asia. This policy sought to strengthen economic, political, and security ties with the countries in the region, and Burma, Myanmar, played a critical role due to its geographical location as the gateway to Southeast Asia. Burma's strategic importance to India is undeniable. For India, access to Southeast Asia's markets and trade routes is vital, and Burma serves as the essential corridor for this purpose. In addition, maintaining a presence in Burma helps India to balance the growing influence of China in the region, ensuring that India retains some degree of politico-military dominance along its eastern border. Before the ethnic war broke out in Manipur in May 2023, the government of India, GOI, had already begun to take steps to protect its economic interests in Burma, especially after the military junta's control began to weaken in several key areas. This weakening of the junta prompted the GOI to take action and fill the void left by the crumbling military leadership. The Indian Foreign Ministry recognized the necessity of engaging with the leaders of minority ethnic groups in Burma, particularly from regions such as Kachin, Chin, Karen, and Arakan. These ethnic regions were seen as crucial to India's future trade and economic prospects, which explains why the Indian government sought to forge relations with armed ethnic groups in Burma. The strategic importance of Burma is compounded by India's desire to secure its economic interests at all costs. The need to maintain stability in the region, safeguard its trade routes, and ensure a steady flow of resources led India to initiate talks with various armed ethnic groups. This was not about supporting any particular faction, but about ensuring that India's economic interests were preserved while maintaining a delicate balance with the military junta in Naypyidaw. India's diplomatic stance was clear. While it would not directly aid the junta army, nor send Indian troops in the event of a collapse, it would maintain diplomatic channels with both the junta and the rebel groups to secure its interests. India's engagement with armed ethnic groups. The Indian government's engagement with armed ethnic groups in Burma is not new. Since the early 1990s, India had sought to build relationships with groups such as the Kachin Independent Army, KIA, known for its guerrilla warfare training and its strategic position in Burma's northern region. The KIA, among other ethnic armed organizations, played a pivotal role in resisting the military junta's control, and India saw potential in aligning with these groups to counteract the growing influence of insurgent groups from India that were operating in Burma. The KIA had been involved in training Indian insurgent groups such as the NSCN IM, the United Liberation Front of Assam ULFA, and other Northeast Indian groups. However, India's desire to control the spread of insurgency in its northeastern states led the government of India to intervene. In the early 1990s, the Congress government sought to prevent the KIA from supplying arms and training to groups like the NSCN IM and ULFA, as these insurgents were posing a growing threat to Indian security. This intervention culminated in a formal agreement between the Indian government and the KIA, wherein India requested the KIA to cease its support for these insurgent groups. Despite the agreement, the arrangement quickly soured, with allegations emerging that the KIA was dissatisfied with the terms of the deal. Reports indicated that 2 consignments of weapons were delivered to the KIA but were deemed insufficient, sparking accusations from the KIA that the Indian government had shortchanged them. This dissatisfaction with India's support set the stage for a bloody period between 1992 and 1995, during which relations between the Indian government and the KIA soured, and violence escalated. The role of the Kuki National Army Burma, KNAB. Amidst these tensions, the Kuki National Army, KNA, emerged as a potential partner for India. The KNA had previously been involved in the armed struggle against the Myanmar government and its military, and in the early 1990s, it was allegedly approached by Indian officials to assist in dealing with the insurgent groups that were becoming a thorn in India's side. The KNA was thought to have been used to deal with the NSCN IM and other groups in Burma, although there is little concrete evidence to support this claim. One of the most significant events that brought this alleged collaboration to public attention was the assassination of Major Zalengam Kipgen in 1992, Major Kipgen, a member of the Indian Army, was falsely accused of masterminding the alleged deal between the Indian government and the KNA to fight the NSCN IM. His assassination, carried out by suspected NSCN IM rebels in front of his family, sent shockwaves through the region. Following his death, the NSCN IM launched a series of preemptive strikes in Manipur and Nagaland in 1992, resulting in the deaths of over 1,000 civilians, many of whom were Kuki people. Despite these allegations and tragic events, it remains unclear whether the Indian government ever officially supported the KNA or used them to target the Meitei and Naga militants in Burma. India's official stance has always been that it does not involve itself directly in the internal conflicts of Myanmar. However, given the complexities of the region and India's strategic interests, it is possible that certain covert operations or unofficial support may have taken place. The current situation and the KNAB's role. Fast forward to the present day, the KNAB is now part of the People's Defense Force, PDF, an umbrella organization composed of various ethnic armed groups that are fighting against the Myanmar military junta. This development has significant implications for India's strategic interests in the region. In exchange for the moral support provided by India to the National Unity Government (NUG) in Burma, it is alleged that the Burmese rebel groups, including the KNAB, have been pressured to act against Meitei and Naga militants operating along the Indo-Myanmar border. While the Indian government has not been directly involved in using the KNAB to fight against the Meitei and Naga insurgents, the shifting alliances and the strategic considerations of the Burmese conflict could affect these insurgency movements in northeast India. The KIA, for example, has reportedly agreed to support the PDF in its fight against the military junta, which may lead to a more united front among Burma's ethnic rebel groups. This could significantly impact the Meitei and Naga insurgency movements in northeast India, which have historically operated along the border areas. As of now, the Meitei militants are said to be entrenched in Tamu, a town located along the Indo-Myanmar border. The Indian Army is believed to be closely monitoring the situation, with reports suggesting that the Indian military is keeping a watchful eye on the activities of these insurgents. However, there is no concrete evidence to suggest that the government of India has directly used the KNAB to fight against the Meitei and NSCN IM militants in Burma. The situation remains fluid, and the complexities of the ongoing conflict make it difficult to ascertain the exact nature of India's involvement in the region. Conclusion: a complex geopolitical landscape. In conclusion, the accusations against the government of India regarding its alleged support for the Kuki National Army Burma, KNAB, are largely based on misinterpretations of India's strategic interests in Burma and the broader Southeast Asian region. India's engagement with ethnic armed groups in Burma has always been driven by economic considerations and the desire to protect its geopolitical interests, particularly in relation to trade routes and regional stability. While there are historical instances where India may have cooperated with certain ethnic groups in Burma to counter common threats, there is no direct evidence to support the claim that India has used the KNAB as a tool to fight against the Meitei and Naga militants in Burma. The situation is further complicated by the broader regional dynamics, including the weakening of the Myanmar military junta and the rise of various rebel groups, making it difficult to discern the exact nature of India's involvement. Ultimately, the Burma front is a complex geopolitical and security issue with multiple layers of conflict, economic interests, and regional dynamics at play. The accusations leveled against India are symptomatic of the broader confusion surrounding the conflict in Myanmar and its implications for neighboring regions like Manipur.
The situation remains in flux, and only time will reveal the full extent of India's role in this ongoing conflict. Disclaimer: Zalengam Media is not responsible for the content of this article, which is authored by Donn Margon Kipgen. For any inquiries or to contact the author, please reach out to the rightful author directly. Don't forget to subscribe to Zalengam Media for more insightful content.